Alberta is not for sale still means what it says.
For David Newton, it wasn't just a shirt. It was a stand, a history, a warning. By afternoon, as he strolled into the crowded Leduc farmers market, the first glares were already cutting through him. Some were curious. Others, far more common, were dismissive or full-on hostile. But David had never cared much about popularity. At 75, after a lifetime teaching economics, he had little patience left for delusions. And now, in May 2025, Premier Danielle Smith announced what many had previously dismissed as a fringe fantasy, a binding referendum on Alberta's independence from Canada.
The ultimate act of prairie rebellion. We will align with our values and take control of our destiny.
They'd borrowed the symbolism straight from their southern cousins. Make Alberta great again, festooned in red and white, maple leaves traded for Stetson hats. The slogans were one part nostalgia, one part conspiracy, and entirely blind to the complex realities lurking beneath the surface. They promised Albertans would escape high federal taxes, loathed gun laws, and woke coastal values. Some of the most persuasive promoters went even further, floating that Alberta could join the USA itself, and each household would get a $10,000 bonus check from the Freedom Accord. The logic didn't hold up to scrutiny, but with unemployment climbing and housing underwater, hope doesn't need to be rational.
You're just trading one parade for another. The Americans aren't here to save us. They'll come for our oil and leave us with Texas laws and Detroit pensions.
For David, Maple MAGA was a bitter pill, but the numbers were against him, literally. In neighborhood halls, his PowerPoint on net federal transfers and provincial deficits won polite applause and rolled eyes.
Alberta, despite its resource wealth, depends on Canadian equalization in downturns. We need the Canadian dollar's stability and rely on social transfers in tough years.
He explained that Alberta, if it left Canada, would inherit its share of federal debt, face crippling new currency risks, and lose the implicit backing of Canada's strong credit rating.
We become a petrostate on the open seas, squeezed between Wall Street on one side and an angry Ottawa on the other.
But the crowd's eyes glazed over. The lure of a $10,000 check and catchy bumper sticker slogans were simply too hard to compete with. On referendum day, David voted no. And wore his shirt proudly even as neighbors jeered. The result, a narrow margin, but enough. The yes side won. Plunging Alberta into months, maybe years of negotiation, uncertainty, and economic pain. Sometimes, David reflected, it wasn't the foreign corporations or banks that sold out a community. It was the people themselves, convinced by easy answers and empty promises. And content to sell their future for a check that would never clear. The shirt was right. Alberta wasn't for sale. But for a while at least, it had been given away all the same.